All right, how you doing, everyone? Corey here with the Long Island Lacrosse Journal. I got head coach Karrie Moore of the Ithaca women's lacrosse team. Coach Moore, how we doing over there?
Good, good.
It's good to have you on. I guess you're at home, or you guys allowed back in the office just yet, or no?
No, not in the office, so just working out, working for my home office here, trying to keep the dog out and
It's part of the work-life balance these days, dealing with kids and animals and whatnot.
exactly.
There's no way around it. But either way, it's really nice to have you on. I'm sure especially where your program was at, with the season ending, it had to have been tough. I saw off
Mhm.
to a 5-0 start. It seems like things were really starting to click for the program.
Yeah.
How'd you kind of get through that experience with your team, and how are you guys getting through it currently?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that, we felt like things were, we've made progress every year. And it's felt like this steady march forward, where maybe the kind of end result didn't look from the outside like this steady march forward, but from the inside of the program, it certainly has felt that way. Um, and every year the culture has felt better. And I mean that, you kind of set up the culture that you want, or you're trying to lay it out and get them to know what it looks like. And every year it just seems like there's been more and more buy-in and more of the athletes like driving that, and coming less from the coaching staff, which is really really cool to see. um, and this year just felt awesome. It just felt like our seniors were doing a great job worrying about really high level stuff, and just keeping the team just really focused. I think like they talk about, we have kind of a leadership structure on our team, and the seniors talk a lot about, like what are the kind of like what's the culture and the value of the team like this year that's kind of like specific to the season. And they just did a great job like steering that vision, and really pushing us forward. And yeah, when we were so fortunate we got our spring break trip in, and looking back, just how grateful I am that we got to go on that trip just because of the timing of when everything happened. um, and had like just such a fun couple days, like almost a week together, just us.
Wow, where'd you go?
We were in Colorado actually. um,
Cool. Who'd
we
you
were
play out
able to
there?
we played Colorado College. Yeah, so it was just a really great like time to just spend together. And yes, we found out kind of right when we got back from spring break, that we were done. And yeah, I think, I just think the tough thing about it is every year for every player on our team, every year feels like they're building something. And they're building something for the team, and like, kind of individually. And that individual effort feeds into the team, and they've built these relationships. And and just we're, I think, in as athletes we're so goal oriented that it's
Mhm.
really difficult to stop something in the middle and reflect and be like, okay, well, was that good? What did I get out of that?
Mhm.
And so, I think that's been, to just see like, the seniors just like, this has been a 4-year process for them of building and building this program, and trying to move it to kind of their vision, for what we can achieve. Is just, that was really heartbreaking.
Mhm.
And I think that, just, I think that's the hard thing about it. And I think as athletes it's even harder to just, you're on this journey that's supposed to have this end, and you kind of prepare yourself for what that end is going to look like, and then it
Yeah,
doesn't look like that. And
sure. Especially when I'm sure there were moments when, like, it's like freezing, it's like really early, and like you're like creating a vision to help them through, like, hey, we're doing this
right,
because of this, and then all of a sudden, like, that vision just can't come true because
right,
just
yeah,
outside factors, which is probably tough. You mentioned something interesting about your seniors
like getting to the point where they have the ability to focus on high level things. What did you mean? Can you give
Yeah.
me a specific example about that?
Yeah. So, I think that a lot of times when you're trying to build culture, you're worried about stuff like, oh, so and so isn't really working that hard, or like we have this issue with somebody, or there's this like interpersonal conflict, right? Like there's all these things that when you have 30 people together, there's all these like little things that pop up, and something that we talk about a lot in our program is like starting from the recruiting process, making sure that everyone has a really clear idea of what our program is, what it's going to be like, and what's going to be asked of them, so that we build this trust throughout our program, that we know that everyone is there kind of like for the same reason, right? Like
Mhm,
we have these goals, we want to be chasing championships, and like we just have to then kind of sort out like what are the little things that we feel like are going to keep us on that right path,
mhm,
but we've built that from a foundation of trust, where we're not like, we're not having to worry about like, oh, does so and so even care, or
mhm.
like does this person's like, are they here for the right reasons, like that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And I felt like this year we had such good buy-in and such good trust, and I think that's been a building process, but for some reason this year it was so tangible, and it just felt like our players could really have honest conversations with each other, and we could have really honest conversations with our players, and frankly they could have really honest conversations with us, like, hey, we don't feel like this thing is going well, or hey, you guys tried this thing and I don't really think that went well,
Mhm,
um, which honestly as a coaching staff is awesome when you can get that kind of live feedback from your team. It's great.
mhm.
um, but so I guess I think we didn't have to start from a place of, okay, well, you've got to build the relationship first, and then you can have these conversations about tough things like, hey, you're having like a tough week, like what is going on,
Mm.
or I think you're capable of more, like how can you achieve more, how can we get more out of you. I think for me it's those higher level things are almost like pushing the front of the pack, and I think that as a team we got to focus on that a lot this year, like how do we push the front of the pack, um, because that really pulls all of us forward,
Right.
and I think for me it all starts with that trust and that like foundation of trust, and we had really good relationships this year, and I think it kind of all starts from, it all starts from a good foundation, and I felt
Yeah,
like we had that.
absolutely. I'm interested to learn a little bit more about like your coaching history and how
Mhm.
you came to the conclusion that like trust, for example, is like such an important part of team culture. Do you want to talk a little bit about like your coaching journey and like where you played and then to where,
Yeah.
you obviously are today?
Yeah. So, I've been so fortunate. I've been able to work with, like, play for, um, and work with some really, really amazing people. I mean, in high school, I got to play for Wendy Cardell at Bryn Mawr, who was the U19 coach for a long time. Just like really amazing, and instilled so much like love of the game for me. Um, College, like I got to play for Karen Brower at Penn, um, proud Penn alum,
Shout out.
and uh, I just, again, I think Karen taught me so much about accountability and discipline and the things that really go into building a program.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, I went to Penn, obviously a great school, and we picked it because we knew we were going to get a great education. Um, but I also went there really because I could see what Karen's vision for the program was,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a really exciting thing to be a part of. Um, and they've been incredibly successful, and I think for me, I really learned what like the foundation of a really strong program should look like.
Carrie, do you sometimes see like a little bit of yourself in certain girls that you recruit when you talk about the vision of like Ithaca lacrosse or whatever program you were coaching for?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, a little bit. I think, I think we talk a lot to our recruits about, like this is going to be an exciting journey, like where this program is going. That's really exciting. And I think though we actually talk a lot about like the work that's going to take to go into that.
Mhm.
And to be a part of our program, you have to enjoy the work.
Mhm.
Uh, and I think, uh, yeah, I think for me, that's something that, yeah, I've kind of always enjoyed the grind of it.
Yeah.
Um, you know, and yeah, maybe that's something that I kind of, you know, kind of bring into our recruiting and things like that. Sure.
Cool. And then so after
Yeah.
Penn, where was your first coaching stop?
Yeah. So right out of college, I was at Colgate, which was really cool. Again, need to be like in a like high academic environment and trying to get that balance between like academics and like kind of like what you're putting in on the field, things like that. So it was really cool. And then had a chance to get back into the Ivy League. And I got to work with Jenny Grapp at Cornell. I think it was there 7 seasons, and just learned so much from Jenny about just like managing your program and like kind of like really, managing your team and like what you can get out of people, like kind of like what can you get out of your team as a unit.
Mhm.
That was really cool. I learned a lot. I learned a lot from Jenny, just like paying attention to details. Jenny's so good at like making sure all the details make sense, and really thinking things through. And I learned so much there. And then the opportunity opened at Ithaca, and it was just I got so fortunate. Like I mean, Ithaca is an amazing place. It's an amazing place to live, and I got to
Mhm.
jump from one hill to the other. Um, I just I it's crazy how lucky I got. But when I went and looked at campus at Ithaca, I really didn't know much about it, and I was like stunned. I'm like, this place is insane. Like the facilities are amazing. Campus is beautiful. Everywhere you go on campus, you get this beautiful view of the lake. It's just a really cool place. Like amazing, academic programs.
Mhm.
Um, across the board, just like really strong athletics. A community that really embraces athletics. I think
Mhm.
I've been some places where that wasn't the case. Like not that athletics weren't supported, but it just wasn't quite as integrated into the campus culture. And so just really neat to be in a place that, I think I say this to recruits a lot, but I think, you know, if you're a competitive person, if you're just as competitive in the classroom as you are on the field, right? Like then I think it's a great place for you. You can compete at a high level in both places. You don't have to like pick or choose. You don't have to like,
Mhm.
oh well, I guess like, I want to be really good at lacrosse, so I'm gonna have to like sacrifice some in academics,
Right.
or I want to be, like, whatever. I want to be a surgeon, and so I've really got to like dial in on my academics, and I can't worry that much about lacrosse. I think the cool thing about it is you could do both things, and you could do both things really well, and you can compete. um, you don't have to like kind of sacrifice anywhere.
When you're sometimes like when you're recruiting athletes, like are they as sometimes like stunned as like you were when you first like learned and like just realized what was going on at Ithaca and just like kind of like the Division 3 landscape as a
Yeah.
whole, or do girls kind of like seek out Ithaca being like, oh, like I think I'm gonna look here because I just maybe I'm not a Division 1 player or like I don't want that commitment, etc. Like how does that
Yeah.
usually work out?
Yeah. I think that there are people who are attracted to Ithaca. Maybe they, like for instance, we have amazing health science programs. So we'll get a lot of athletes who reach out to us, because they know that they're like, for instance, physical therapy. They know they're really interested in PT,
Hmm.
um, and they kind of have in their head they're not sure if they're going to be able to compete at a high level, athletically, and do that at the same time.
Right.
and then they come on campus and they're like, wait, what? Like these things work together really well, and I can do it here. Um, I think so that those are definitely kind of conversations we have with, and I think that, yeah, a lot of recruits they come on campus and they've never seen it before, and they're, pretty like surprised what our facilities look like and what our campus looks like. And yeah, I always think that's fun. I think for me the fun thing too is to kind of like they get to meet our team, um, and I think our team is so dynamic and fun and hardworking, and they get to be around the team a little bit. Wow, okay, like I think a lot of people when they get to campus are impressed, and I think that's cool.
Yeah, I think that's like a very underrated part of the recruiting process is like meeting the
Yeah,
players on the team. I think
yeah,
sometimes parents think they gotta do the whole 9 yards, maybe a prospect day or a whole, setup and meeting. But if let's say you have a neighbor or someone from the high school that goes, it's like just
yeah,
meet someone that's on the team. They'll tell you so much and be honest about it, which is cool.
right,
Do
yeah.
your girls kind of embrace the process of when you have a recruit that maybe is staying over, etc.? Do they realize like that's important to your program and they take accountability and ownership about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's
Yeah.
cool. Um, yeah, so what I guess like I always like to ask like the why. Like college coaching is it's a super like unique profession, and I think people get into it for different reasons. For you, like what's your why? Like why do you enjoy what you do?
Yeah. Um, I think for me, I love the like the teaching aspect of the game. I love the development aspect of it. I mean, I think it's such a fun and dynamic, like just fast sport.
Hmm.
That I think it's so the sport itself, I, I loved playing. I didn't really um right out of college I wasn't ready to let go of.
Yeah.
I think for me, the actual coaching aspect and the developing your players, and I think that aspect is probably why I got into it originally. And I think for me, the part that's been a little bit more of like an evolution is really falling in love with the like not just developing our players athletically, but just seeing them grow.
Hmm.
And building this program, and seeing that grow and develop, and seeing our players like really take ownership of that and elevate it. I think that whole aspect of it for me has been um, really, really amazing. And I think I got into it because I liked X's and O's, and I
Hmm.
like teaching skills, and I still love that stuff. But I think for me, it's evolved even more into just like really a love of like I absolutely love seeing our players develop and grow and be like really proud of themselves for something that they accomplished. I think is
Sure.
just really cool, to be able to help them in that process.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, I heard a coach the other day. She referred to kind of like when she coaches like an outdoor classroom, so to speak, like you're using lacrosse as
Yeah,
just a classroom that's outside, and you're teaching. So I mean, obviously, so many different things,
right.
which is really cool. And for you, like obviously this season, things were really clicking and going well, but just kind of like what's kind of like your vision for the program over the next couple years, as you kind of like look ahead a little bit here.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, again, I think we've been on this kind of march forward. And our program goals, we want to be winning conference championships and we want to be fighting for national championships.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that the path that we're on, like we're headed where we need to be going. And I think in this moment, this kind of like weird moment in our I don't know, lives for all of us is
Hmm.
we're kind of figuring out how do we stay on that path? Like what do we do right now that keeps us on that path?
Hmm.
Um, but I think that for us it's a really exciting time to be a part of our program because it definitely it feels like things are clicking in a way, that it feels really good and like fun to be a part of.
Yeah.
Um, I think, uh, but again, I think that we're right on track and doing what we need to do. And I think we have the right personnel, and I think we were bringing in the right people. And that's not just athletically, right? Like that's not just, oh, we're bringing in the right athletes to be really good and compete. I think we're bringing in we're bringing people into our program who want to compete.
Hmm.
They want to be better. They're driven. It doesn't really matter if it's you're playing like cards with your family or they're on the field, and it's like a intense moment. Like they're gonna compete no matter what. Um, and I think that like we're trying to bring those kinds of people into the program. I'm really excited about the next couple of recruiting classes we have here.
Yeah.
Um, so I feel like we're on track, and it's just in this moment we're all kind of scrambling to figure out like, all right, what is it that we got to do right now?
Sure. No, we're all there. Yeah. So since we have about a minute here, I always like to leave it kind of like you were saying, like because everyone's scrambling a little bit, especially
Yeah,
there's a little bit of stress around, girls that are like in high school, especially if they haven't really figured out where they want to go yet.
absolutely.
This is like that big year for not just athletically, it's like you're taking tests and all that good stuff. What's maybe a piece of advice you can just shed for someone who's kind of like in that situation where, they're still figuring it out, but they do want to play at a high level. They want to play in college. They want to get recruited and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, so much of recruiting is relationships. There's you can have this list that you think is like the things that you want, right?
Hmm.
And I think really the best thing to do is pull out just a few things that are really, really important to you.
Hmm.
Whatever that is. Maybe it's a major. Maybe you like really know what you want to do. And good for you if at 16 and 17 you really know what you want to do. A lot of people don't, and that's okay. Like then if you don't know what you do, then you should probably look at schools that have a wide range of things so that you have options. But I just mean like pick out a few things that are going to be really important to you. Let that narrow your search a little bit, and then work on building relationships. Like that's what we can all do right now.
Hmm.
Um, you can. There's plenty of things you can do online. Most schools have really cool kind of like video tours and things like that, and so I think there's some legwork that can be done right now. And then I think reach out to coaches. Like
Yep.
we all have time right now. But I think trying to kind of talk to coaches and see like what feels like a good fit, whose programs feel like a good fit. I think the culture of the program is so very important to coloring what your college lacrosse experience and then your college experience is going to feel like, like
Sure.
I just think that's so important. So I think right now we can all build relationships. We can all get to know people better. Um,
Awesome. Well,
yeah.
Coach Moore, we really appreciate your time. And where can maybe someone who's interested about the program just kind of like stay in touch with you guys on social media, and like what are some accounts that maybe they could follow?
Yeah. Yeah. We have our Instagram account. We trying to post things on there pretty regularly, and the team posts some pretty funny, entertaining things. So
Awesome.
they're that's usually a good one to follow. But yeah, they can always reach out to me too, and we can have some conversations and start it there.
All right, great. Coach Moore, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you.